Welcome back to the Awakening Workshop. My name is Travis Dumont, and this is my lovely wife and partner, Denise. And in this video, we're going to be talking a little bit about ourselves. For the first 30 years of my life, I followed the things that society, the ego, and my fears conditioned me to do. And what some of those things were was I pursued things like the American dream. For instance, in my life, I was actively pursuing real estate investment. I was building up my credit. I had bought a home, I was married, had my first child. I was doing all the things that I thought would make me a good person and would bring me happiness in life. However, as I neared my 30th birthday, all of that began to change as my old life began to unravel and consciousness began to pour in, changing everything that I saw and perceived and how I felt about things in life. As all these changes were taking place in my life, that's when I first began to notice Denise. As I started to understand what I really wanted in a partner and what I really wanted for myself, she actually inspired me to become the person that I had always really dreamed of and really wanted to be.
As for me, I was in the middle of my third marriage. I was frustrated, I was unhappy. I had previously spent a stint in a hospital for depression. All I knew is that I wanted to be happy and I wasn't sure how. I'd tried everything that I had thought could make me happy and I just couldn't find it. To be honest, I'd really kind of given up. I knew that I had a feeling in the back of my head that someday I would meet a man who would say a specific thing to me and I would recognize it. And sometimes when I'd be sitting across the table from a dinner date, I would lean forward expectantly thinking that he was going to say that to me, and it never happened. And then I met Travis, and I remember when we were in the truck and we were beginning to really get to know each other and have a desire to be together and spend time together. And I remember thinking, as he was speaking the words that I knew I'd always hear a man speak, I got tingles all over my body, and I remember thinking, this is it. This is the guy. This is where I'm supposed to be.
That's right.
Travis believed that me having had the strength to leave 3 marriages and really pursue what I had wanted in life was a strength for me. And I knew that it was, but I never knew that there was anybody out there who could understand that and believe it himself. So I was really quite taken and surprised that someone could see me how I saw myself.
That's right. And then for me, as I was leaving my first marriage, or getting ready to leave my first marriage, I had this weird misconception that as we were first getting together, because I recognized that Denise was the right partner for me. She had the qualities that I was striving for myself as a person. But what I misunderstood is that I could just, paste and delete, take out my first wife and then put Denise in it, and then everything would be okay. Like everything would just be smooth and all of my old plans would still continue, but just with this new partner. And that certainly wasn't the case. The reality is that my whole life and value system needed to change. And having a new partner was going to help me do that. And so my old life of pursuing real estate investment actually came to a crashing disaster as we first got together and I bought our first home. And there were so many unforeseen things that happened that made that property fail, and it got repossessed. And then of course my golden credit and everything else was shot after that. And so my idea of where I thought I was going, what I thought I knew I needed to go in, the direction I needed to go in, just completely changed at that moment.
And what we do also realize is that success of the American dream, it never happens through real estate investment. It never happens through financial success. I mean, that can be a positive thing for people and it can be a bonus, and it isn't where you really achieve true happiness, and we began to realize that. As a young person, I remember sitting in school and we were watching a film on New York City, and something inside me woke up and I saw the people walking down the street millions of people in one shot, just like ants, thousands. I could just see thousands of people everywhere. And it was strange because it was a recognition within me. I saw that and I immediately knew that someday that's where I was going to be. I didn't know how or why even. I didn't have any kind of reason to want to go there, but I knew that I would be there someday.
And as our lives started to unfold together, all of a sudden the things that needed to fall into place to have a move like that happen started to unfold. And we ended up in Manhattan eventually. That's when we started to follow our hearts instead of our heads.
And we began to become more interested in personal growth. And for me, I had a girlfriend that would send me reading material, and we just would devour anything that had to do with consciousness and bettering yourself. And we really had a belief that we needed to get to the core of truth. How is it really? I mean, we all think it's a certain way, but we'd tried all those ways, and we wanted to really understand how it truly was. And so we read everything we could get our hands on. We also began to realize that when you knock, it shall be given unto you. We started to experience that in our lives because we really had a desire to know, and it was opened to us.
Right. And even little things like, as you began to release the controls of life, you know, the feeling that you have to control everything, even little things like, I mean, I had hair that was barely this long when I first met Denise, and then all of a sudden I find myself letting my hair grow out, and you know, I got an earring, and I mean, and none of that stuff really matters, but it's just interesting how when you don't need to control it anymore, all of a sudden things start to change just naturally.
That's true. We really also worked a lot of things out between us when we were in New York. I mean, you have a lot of soul searching to do, and you have a lot of things to clear in yourself, and through our partnership we were able to look at those things and try to clear them, and it can be very painful and difficult to look at those things. And we did go through some challenges and a very tumultuous time in our relationship during that time. But
we certainly had some ups and downs during that
we
time.
We did, but it was a happy time too. I look back on it with fondness.
Yeah, it was really good. And on top of that, we also had, you know, the dissension even with leaving our family and friends behind. I mean, that wasn't easy for them either, and because we just kind of had to go do our thing, and you know, I guess, you know, for lack of a better way to say it, find ourselves, you know, but that is really what we were doing.
And then when it was time, we came back.
That's right.
So when we came back from New York to our families, we had to face the consequences that leaving had produced. We had a lot of loose ends to tie up, and so when we did that, we got that all handled and taken care of, and then God opened up a way for you and I to do what we're doing now.
That's right. I mean, I just was compelled. You know, I'd been doing remodeling for 20 years, and all of a sudden I wanted to be able to share what was happening to us now. I wanted to share the insights we were starting to understand and all the things that we had studied about and learned. And that's how the book basically came to be. All of a sudden it just came into me, and there was an outline, and there's the book starting to write itself, and then after that the website got produced.
So through this journey with my husband, I finally have found the path to happiness. And while at one time I thought it was to get a man that would love me, I realized that that doesn't have anything to do with it. It's the love and the happiness was within me. And yes, he's provided this safe space for me to look at myself and clear myself. And I love him for that. And my happiness comes from within me.
That's right. You know, and this hasn't been an easy journey. As a matter of fact, this relationship has been by far the toughest I've ever been in. But you know, that the reason why that is because you really are doing the real work that's required to face yourself and transcend all the things that the ego has created in you, so that you really can become a healthy, whole individual, you know, and then eventually become a healthy, happy couple.